Many designs look highly fashionable in architectural magazines, but turn out to be a functional nightmare when put into practical use. Just by chasing visuals, quite a few homeowners have accidentally turned their own houses into spaces that are inconvenient and high maintenance. Let's look over the terrible features that you need to cross off your home project right now. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Fixed picture windows. Huge, fixed glass windows that run from the ceiling down to the floor always create a massive impression the moment you step into a house. The view of the yard is uninterrupted. Natural light floods the space, and the boundary between indoors and outdoors virtually disappears. Architects love them because they look beautiful on blueprints, and builders love them too because fixed glass is cheaper and faster to install than operable windows. But the person living in that house is the one who bears the long-term consequences. Think about what happens at 3 p.m. when the sun shines directly into that giant pane of glass. Because it is fixed glass, the room completely loses its ability for natural ventilation. Being unable to open means no incoming breeze and no way for hot air to escape. In the summer, a large glass pane facing west or south acts almost like a magnifying glass, trapping all the heat inside and turning the room into a greenhouse. The air conditioning system has to run at full capacity to compensate, electric bills increase noticeably, and the equipment's lifespan is shortened because it must operate continuously under overloaded conditions. You pay for a beautiful view, but you also pay the monthly electric bill for that exact pane of glass. The solution is not to eliminate large glass windows, but to combine them more smartly. Keep the fixed glass pane in the center to capture the view, but integrate awning windows or casement windows on both sides or near the floor level. You still have the panoramic picture when everything is shut, but when you need ventilation, you just open the secondary sections to let the cool breeze in and push the accumulated hot air out. The view remains the same, the aesthetics remain the same, but the room can breathe instead of being trapped in a greenhouse of your own making. The next mistake is something you feel immediately with your own feet every single day. 2. Woodlook tile. Try standing in your kitchen for 30 continuous minutes and notice how your feet and back feel. If your home is floored with Woodlook ceramic tile, you will understand the problem immediately. Tile does not have the elasticity of real hardwood flooring or LVP, luxury vinyl plank. Standing on it for a long time makes your feet and back fatigue noticeably faster. In a showroom, you only walk back and forth for a few minutes so you don't realize it, but at home, especially in an open kitchen layout where you stand on the same surface for hours every day, the feeling is very different. Builders love ceramic tile because it is cheap, fast to install, and they don't have to deal with warranty issues like they do with hardwood flooring. But after living with it for a few years, the second problem appears. The grout lines between the tiles begin to discolor. The seamless Woodlook effect disappears, replaced instead by a very obvious artificial surface feel. The cost to demolish ceramic tile is also significantly higher than tearing up laminate or vinyl flooring, which makes many people hesitate when they want to remodel. The market currently is leaning toward flooring options that are softer underfoot, more neutral in aesthetics, and more flexible when you want to change interior styles. 3. Built-in microwave and oven combo. Manufacturers love selling combos because they get to sell 2 appliances in a single transaction. But what is convenient for them does not mean it is good for you. The microwave is the appliance that gets used more frequently and also degrades sooner due to constant opening and closing every day. When the microwave portion breaks, replacement is no longer simple because the dimensions, finish, and model must be synchronized with the entire oven unit below. In many cases, you are forced to replace the entire set just because one part experiences a malfunction. The performance of a combo also rarely reaches optimal levels for both functions. The microwave section is usually smaller than a countertop unit, with a more limited cavity space, while the accompanying oven is often just basic and not as powerful as a dedicated wall oven. You pay for 2 appliances, but neither appliance does its job best. Installation height is also frequently overlooked. If the oven unit is placed too high just to keep the cabinet layout balanced, taking hot items out of the microwave or looking inside the oven will be less convenient, especially for young children or older adults. Separating the microwave and the wall oven is usually much more flexible. Each appliance operates independently, making replacement easy, upgrading easy, and functional efficiency more stable over time. But there is a detail in the kitchen that many people choose because it looks beautiful on Instagram. without realizing it will cause inconvenience every time they wash dishes. 4. Farmhouse sinks. A farmhouse sink, with its front apron exposed outside the cabinet system, is one of the most saved details on Pinterest. It looks very beautiful, has a lot of character, and instantly creates a distinct feel in the kitchen. But living with it every day is a different story. The first issue is water splashing. Because the rim of the sink sits lower than the countertop and the apron juts out forward, dishwashing water easily splashes down onto the floor and soaks into your clothes every time you stand there to wash. With a standard sink, the higher rim holds the water back, but a farmhouse sink does not. Weight is also a factor that many people overlook. A farmhouse sink made of fire clay or cast iron is significantly heavier than a standard stainless steel sink. The base cabinet underneath must be specially reinforced to carry the load. And if the builder does not calculate this in advance, the cabinet can sag or fail after a few years. When replacement is needed, a farmhouse sink is also much more complicated because the front portion is tied directly into the cabinet structure. Switching to a different style of sink virtually means remaking the entire cabinet unit underneath. A farmhouse sink is still beautiful if you clearly understand the trade-offs, but if you choose it just because it looks beautiful in photos without considering practical use, this is a detail that will remind you every time you wash dishes. Next will be the things that are always exposed 24/7 in the kitchen, and they demand that you keep them tidy every single day if you do not want the entire kitchen to look cluttered. 5. Open shelving and glass cabinets. Open shelving and glass cabinets share a common problem. They turn everything inside into accidental display items. And display items must always be beautiful, always tidy, and always in the correct position. In photos, it is easy. In real life, it is exhausting. With open shelving, just adding a few food boxes, a misplaced mug, or a set of dishes that do not match in tone causes the entire kitchen wall to lose its clean feel. In a kitchen environment, heat and grease accumulate on open surfaces faster than you think. Items near the cooking zone get coated in a greasy film after just a few weeks, and wiping down each item individually takes much more time than wiping a cabinet door outside. Glass cabinets have closing doors, but the problem is not much different. Mismatched dishes or mismatched food box sizes. Just one shelf that hasn't been reorganized in time shows right through the glass layer. Glass surfaces are also more sensitive to fingerprints than wood cabinet doors. After a few openings and closings, smudge marks appear clearly under the light, especially when the kitchen has large windows. When using too much open shelving or glass doors on the same cabinet run, the visual focus is broken up by too many objects. The space looks busier instead of lighter, which is the exact opposite of the initial expectation. And flexible storage capacity drops noticeably because large or less attractive items can almost never be placed in an exposed location. The most effective solution is to use open shelving or glass cabinets selectively. 1 or 2 locations to display a few beautiful items and keep the rest as closed cabinets. You still get a design accent without having to turn your entire kitchen into a showroom that needs to be kept tidy 24/7. 6. Plastic wall panels and sliding barn doors. Both of these details look full of character when first finished, but the longer you live with them, the more their limitations are exposed. Plastic wall panels that mimic stone or wood offer a fast finish, uniform surfaces, and a lower cost than real materials when first installed. Contractors love plastic panels because the installation is fast and the profit margin is high. But under natural light, especially when spread across a large wall section, the light reflection and lack of material depth begin to show. If you want to create an accent wall while maintaining long-term value, real wood with a good surface treatment, thin stone veneer, or even wall paint with a high-quality texture are all options that retain material depth over time. The initial cost might be higher, but you won't have to face a fake look that becomes increasingly obvious with each year of use. Barn doors fall into a similar situation but on the side of daily usage. Because the door slab sits outside the wall surface instead of closing tightly into a frame, a gap around the door edges almost always exists. Sound leaks through, light leaks through, and even odors leak through much easier than with a standard closed door. Using them for a pantry or a utility area is completely fine since those zones do not require privacy. But when used for a bedroom, a bathroom, or a home office where you need quiet and separation, the soundproofing capability and privacy drop noticeably compared to traditional doors. The solution is not to eliminate barn doors completely, but to put them in the right place. a pantry, a secondary closet, or a laundry room, locations that do not need to be completely sealed, are spaces where a barn door still adds character without causing inconvenience. For spaces that require real privacy, a traditional tight-closing door remains irreplaceable in terms of functionality. But there are much larger choices, occupying an entire room and costing tens of thousands of dollars, where the actual frequency of use is shockingly low. 7. Whirlpool tubs. I have seen so many Whirlpool tubs worth thousands of dollars turn into a holding place for towels and dirty clothes. It is not because the homeowners are lazy, but because practical usage does not match the expectations at the time of purchase. A large Whirlpool tub requires a lot of water to reach the operating level for the jet system, meaning you wait much longer for the tub to fill than a standard one. In the rhythm of daily life, most people do not have enough time to maintain that routine, so the frequency of use drops very quickly after the initial phase of excitement. The bigger problem lies in the jet system. The small internal pipes easily accumulate grime, soap scum, and residual moisture left behind after each drain. If you turn on the jets after a period of non-use, many people start to see the water shoot out filled with black flakes and debris. The relaxation experience vanishes right at that moment. A Whirlpool tub occupies a large footprint in the bathroom but does not provide a corresponding functional value. With today's fast-paced lifestyle, the shower gets used significantly more, so a large bathtub with a complex massage system often fails to live up to expectations. 8. Centerpiece tubs. In finished photos, a bathtub placed in the middle of the room always creates a feeling that the bathroom is like a resort space, but positioning it away from the wall consumes much more square footage than imagined. In order for the tub to maintain its balance, the area around it always requires a wide enough clearance for movement and access from multiple sides. In a bathroom that isn't truly large, this square footage quickly takes away space intended for storage cabinets, countertops, or a more spacious shower area. You get a beautiful bathtub but lose the things you use every single day. Cleaning is also more complicated than a tub attached flush against the wall. The entire floor around the base of the tub must be wiped regularly, including those hard-to-reach spots in the back. The plumbing supply and drainage system require more careful handling right from the start because the pipes do not sit neatly against the wall, and the accompanying freestanding faucet usually drains a much higher budget than standard installation solutions. Another aspect that is often overlooked is that the plumbing supply and drainage system for this type of tub require more careful handling right from the construction phase. The pipes no longer sit neatly against the wall but must run under the floor out to the middle of the room, so if laid out incorrectly from the start, the cost to fix it is very expensive. The accompanying freestanding faucet also usually occupies a much higher budget than a conventional wall-mounted faucet, sometimes 3 to 4 times more for the faucet alone. The bathtub wastes a few dozen square feet. The next mistake wastes an entire room, and the initial investment cost can sometimes be 10 times higher. 9. Home theaters. At one time, a home theater was a very clear sign of a high-end house. But as entertainment habits shift, this room reveals a very clear problem. A large investment in square footage but a frequency of use that is lower than expected. A room designed specifically for watching movies must reduce natural light, use dark colors, and feature a fixed layout centered around the screen. This makes it virtually unadaptable to other needs. If you don't watch movies frequently, the room stays closed most of the time. With large TVs becoming increasingly popular, home audio getting better, and streaming platforms booming, the majority of entertainment needs already take place right inside the living room. Many families no longer need a separate room just for a single, unique purpose. That square footage could instead have been a multifunctional media room, a kid's playroom, a home office, or a secondary living space. These flexible spaces maintain a stable, functional value through many different stages of life, instead of being locked into a function that fewer and fewer people need. The next features will affect the entire house every single day, and they are the most expensive, hardest to fix items on today's list. 10. Open floor plans without partitioning. An open floor plan used to be the icon of a modern home because it creates a spacious, bright, and connected feel. On blueprints, it is highly appealing, but during daily living the drawbacks appear quickly, especially for families with young children or those who work from home. Noise has virtually nowhere to stop. The range hood, the sound of washing dishes, the TV, kids running back and forth, a work call. Everything takes place within the same acoustic field. When one person is cooking, it is very difficult for another person to maintain peace and quiet in the remaining area. Everything in the kitchen is also directly visible in the common living area. A sink still holding dishes, a countertop not yet cleared, the entire living room loses its tidy feel as well. Open spaces demand a much higher level of tidiness maintenance because there is no separate area to hide temporary clutter. The solution is not to build walls back up, but to create smart partitioning. Glass partitions, low shelving units, changing flooring materials, or a slight change in floor levels between zones can all create visual and acoustic boundaries while still maintaining the open feel. An open house is not the problem. An open house without partitioning is the problem. 11. Marble countertops. The beauty of marble is undeniable, but I have seen a homeowner who barely dared to cook in her new kitchen for fear of damaging the countertops. Every time someone set down a glass of water, she flinched. That is not the experience you want to have in a kitchen you spend a fortune on. Marble reacts very quickly to acidic substances. Lemon juice, vinegar, tomato sauce, wine, and even a few drops of fruit juice left for too long will leave dull spots on the surface. These are not stains that can be wiped away, but rather etching. The surface layer of the stone is slightly altered, reflecting light differently, and it is very difficult to completely fix. When the kitchen is used continuously, daily tasks like sliding pots and pans, setting down items, and prepping food gradually create small signs of wear. They are hard to see at first, but after a while, the surface is no longer as uniform as when it was new. Compared to quartz or granite, marble requires more regular maintenance and periodic sealing, and even with proper care, it still fails to achieve the same stability as modern engineered materials. Marble is still beautiful if used in the right spots, perhaps on a backsplash or in low contact areas. But covering the entire cooking surface with marble is like wearing a white silk shirt into the kitchen. It looks beautiful, but you don't dare to do anything in it. The final two terrible features on today's list are even more expensive and harder to fix, and you feel them every single time you step into the kitchen. 12. Waterfall countertops. A waterfall countertop is the feature that creates the fastest impression when walking into a kitchen. The stone surface extends continuously from the countertop down both sides of the island's body, looking very luxurious and very designer. In photos, it is almost always the first thing that catches the eye. But the stone pieces at the lower positions are exactly where they take the most impact. Bar stools being slid in and out, bags, strollers, and even children's knees all make direct contact with the stone edge. A few hard bumps can cause minor chipping on the stone corners, and these marks are highly visible because they sit right at a low line of sight. A waterfall also reduces comfort in the seating area. Both sides of the island are sealed off with stone, meaning the legroom for bar stools is more restricted, especially for stools with backrests. People sitting there have to adjust their posture more instead of being comfortable like at a conventional open-sided kitchen island. The cost increases significantly just for the finishing work on the two sides. To create a seamless effect, a large amount of extra stone is required along with precise vein matching. That same budget is sometimes enough to upgrade kitchen appliances or choose a better stone surface for the entire main usage area. A waterfall is still beautiful if used in the right spot, but if you prioritize daily use over visual effects, an open-sided kitchen island is usually much more flexible and easier to live with. 13. Oversized kitchen islands. A large kitchen island on blueprints always creates a luxurious feel. A wide surface, a clear central block, and added seating. The larger it is, the more high-end it looks. Showrooms also display the largest islands possible because they sell more stone. But when the dimensions exceed practical needs, the kitchen island becomes the most expensive obstacle in the kitchen. An insufficient clearance distance for comfortable movement around the island is the first thing that shows up. The dishwasher opens up, cabinet doors swing out, two people work at the same time, and the walkway becomes cramped instantly. You have to constantly dodge each other instead of moving naturally, especially during cooking hours. Double kitchen islands show this even more clearly because the gap between the two blocks usually only creates an extra narrow walkway without increasing functional efficiency. The countertop is split in two, and moving back and forth between the two islands when cooking creates unnecessary extra steps. A clearance space around the island of at least 42 inches is enough for two people to work together without bumping into each other. If that cannot be achieved, a peninsula or a mobile cart will be more efficient. The island's function also needs to be clearly defined, whether it is for food prep, housing a sink, or serving as a snack area, as each purpose dictates a different size. A good home needs to possess sustainable, easy-to-maintain functional features instead of complex structures that degrade easily. Eliminating these terrible details is exactly how you protect your daily living experience.